Let's explore jet airliners. And today, I think we should explore the very concept of a jet airliner. Jet airliners, and the ones that we use to fly from country to country, from city to city, that is an entire industry in itself. And I think it's a must-know to know the properties and what kind of plane we're on when we're flying from country to country. How can we not know? How can you not know exactly what plane you're on in a world where there's only a handful of planes that are? There's a handful of commonly known, must-know planes that I will be presenting to you today. It is the A320, it is the Boeing 737, the Boeing 747, and the 777. So, in this video, perhaps in this section, we're going to explore what makes a jet airliner so much more unique than its counterpart, or another type of plane, general purpose plane. Here we have a Dornier 228. It's a German line plane that was created in the 1970s, and about 200 is still in service today. But its general purpose makes it very different from this plane that we have here. So, in what ways does a jet airliner differ from any normal plane? Since the 1920s, Boeing, and the 1960s, Airbus, have developed passenger-sized planes for commercial flight. This has required quite a few different improvements to reach hundreds of passengers all at once. While this Dornier has 19 people at maximum, this one can hold 162 people. But a commercial flight also requires a range in the hundreds, if not thousands, of kilometers. This plane can reach 5,000 kilometers range. To be exact, the A320 can reach 6,800 kilometers range, while this one can reach 1,111 kilometers. To achieve this capacity and this range, there are different energy uses. This is what you would call a gas turbine engine. There are different kinds of gas turbine engines, but without going into details, what a gas turbine engine does that is different from a turboprop engine, that it converts the energy of the engine and the exhaust into thrust in order to thrust the plane up in the air, while this plane uses the exhaust to turn the propellers. At lower altitudes, this is a lot more fuel efficient. But jet airliners work at very high altitudes, where they can maintain their cruise speed, very high cruise speeds. And that leads us to the cruise speed element. The A320 specifically flies at Mach 0.78. Now, Mach 1 is 1,225 kilometers per hour. 0.78 is above 900 kilometers per hour. This plane flies at, on average, 350 kilometers per hour, showing a vast difference between these two planes. This is not to disparage the advantages of a general purpose plane. These planes are used for multiple reasons, including any kind of emergency use, where any other specialized aircraft is not available, in game ranges, in large regions where you would need a plane. It's very particularly used in areas where there aren't substantial runways. And this is what makes this one particularly special, is it was designed in the 1970s to have a very short takeoff and landing, STOL. So with the short runway distance, it could take off with a runway of about 790 meters and land with a runway nearly half of that at about 400 meters. Having said that, let us now compare more models. We have here 4 different models of jet airliners, and they differ in quite a few ways. These 4 are must-knows, and one of these four is the most sold aircraft in history. One of these 4 are the most sold aircraft, yes. Not airliner, but most generally aircraft. The best selling. Another one is the fastest selling airliner. Well, at least in the 2005 to 7 period. Another one is the first ever wide-bodied aircraft, which we will talk about. And finally, another one is the most built wide-bodied aircraft in history. Let's talk about wide-bodied aircraft. Some of these planes are designed to have 2 aisles. Not 1, but 2 aisles, with 7 or more seats abreast. And the fact that the fuselage can house that width of a plane is what is termed a wide-bodied airliner in industry. And in this setting, I've given you 2 such wide-bodied airliners. The one that you just saw is the Boeing 747, as opposed to the Boeing 777, also a truly large aircraft. These other 2 planes are not wide-bodied, and they're incidentally are called narrow-bodied planes. Now we have the Boeing 737, a true classic, and what we would consider the best-selling aircraft in history. Since 1967, it was designed to be small and cheap to operate, and it's even used on operational missions, that is, sometimes as a general utilities plane. Finally, we have the A320, which was first commissioned in 1988 by Air France, and has particularly strong engine thrust, for its time, at least. The engine thrusts of these 4 planes are definitely different, and the most powerful thrust of them all will be the thrust of the 2 engines on the 777 over here. Each of these engines generates 343 kilonewtons of thrust. This plane seems to have a long range, up to 10,000 kilometers range, specifically 9649 kilometers, but it does not top the 747 with a 14,000 kilometer range. This is an aircraft with large capacity from the 1970s, and we would consider it the world's first wide-bodied aircraft. They called it the jumbo jet, and it has, depending on the model and the engines that were inserted, it had special performance. A fun fact about the 777 is that each of its engine cowls, or engine cowlings here, is as large, as wide as the entire passenger cabin on a Boeing 737. Isn't that fascinating? I hope you've learned quite a bit about planes with me. Perhaps on the next one, we will be able to explore different types of planes from very different parts of the world and with very functional purposes. Have a good one.